We're back at Fifth Crow Farm in Pescadero, and it's the end of January. So this is the time of the year when the trees are totally dormant, and we need to prune them before they start to really wake up and send up, put energy into vegetative growth and put energy into their fruit buds. This is one of our younger trees where we are really still establishing the form. And so one of the reasons I'm out here now pruning is because we have a small but relatively inexperienced crew on our staff that helps us with the pruning every year. Primarily, we're a highly diversified vegetable operation with a cut flower operation. And so usually we're busy doing other things than caring for the trees, and we found that in spite of our efforts to hire a translator and get Orrin Martin out here, our mentor who's taught us how to prune trees, and giving a lesson to most everyone on the crew, some people lack the confidence to cut into wood, and we've found that it's better to just focus on 3 or 4 folks and get them trained up. But then that means we can't prune all 500 trees in the same day or even in the same week, because we're always being pulled into other activities, just preparing for market, for the sales of other products that go on even year-round for us. So right now I've got a spreader in my hand. Sometimes this was being used to kind of keep this apart. This tree is wanting to grow upright, and so I'm going to be doing a little work to try to open it up a little bit more, and sort of selecting, when I've got so many of these branches close together, I want to select 1 or 2 of them to be my main scaffolding. We have also hired pruning companies. The ones that we know about in this area are more geared towards home gardeners, estates. Great skill set there, but kind of not really the price point that a farmer is looking for. We don't have the resources to hire professionals to do all of it for us. So when we've done that, we've kind of tried to get them focused on, like, hey, will you do this 1 acre where we think we need extra help? And then we're opinionated, so sometimes we don't always agree with what the supposed crew of experts have done. So we try to do the pruning ourselves, and sometimes we don't get to all of it. Another thing we've noticed with training our own crew, who are primarily professional vegetable growers, is that they'll tend to want to be conservative. So sometimes we'll get things kind of with an initial pruning, and then one of the owners will come through and maybe prune things a little bit harder. And then if we fail to do so, at least we've done something. And then maybe in the summer we can do a little summer pruning, or we can prune the tree more aggressively the following year to kind of clean it up. So those are some of the issues that we're facing. So I just, we'll spend a little time selecting some branches. You don't want too many branches in the middle, because we want the sunlight to kind of get in there. And really we just want short little fruit buds in the middle without a lot of foliage breaking the sunlight from getting in there, or otherwise they won't ripen. So I'll just go ahead and start selecting. And me, just like our crew members who only do this once a year, I lose confidence every year on how I actually want to prune. So it usually takes me a few trees to kind of get going. But here you can see we're looking at an open-centered tree. We want 5, maybe 6, maybe 7 main scaffoldings. But if I'm going to keep 7, then I can't keep 2 on each. Like, obviously this is our main branch. We sort of have 4 main branches, but we come up here and then we've got these additional ones, and I can split it twice, maybe 3 times depending on where the other branch is, but I can't have 5 branches going up there. So I really have to make some tough decisions. with our orchard, we're always kind of wanting or working towards keeping it a pedestrian orchard. So we want to, and right now they're not really tall enough to worry about, but we want to start selecting for weakness actually when we have one of these branches that are quite aggressive or vigorous, then we're actually going to sometimes choose to cut it all the way back and put energy into the smaller, weaker tree or branch. But right now we're still kind of in the situation that we're stimulating the growth. So I wouldn't want to cut this back too much because in the wintertime, that's a very stimulating, the more I cut back, the more stimulating it will be. So I would maybe, you know, when I don't want it to grow much, I want to put some energy into it, but I just tip it to an outside branch or to an outside bud so that it will tend to grow away from the center of the tree. But I might, you know, go a little bit more on here, cutting off a foot to 18 inches, allowing this tree to get the signal that we're still growing. We're not putting our energy into fruiting as much as we are into establishing the shape of the tree. And then this one's going back into the middle, so I'm going to just take that one out. We don't want to remove everything. You know, these ones here can hang fruit on them. So, but I can't have two fruit on such a weak little branch, so I might cut back to a fruit bed back there, and then, you know, eventually this will hang down and we can get a fruit off of that branch. So I come around here, I've already decided to keep this one, so maybe along this main scaffolding I'll keep one more, and I'm cutting back all the way to the I'm leaving no buds here, so that's a cut that will prevent any growth from there. It will send energy into the rest of the tree, but because I haven't left a bud there, hopefully what that's going to do is mean that these two branches will grow more, the ones that I'm leaving. And then again, I'm doing a kind of an outside bud pointing away from the other one. But this is an example of what I'm going to continue to do around this whole tree. And I'm hoping with this and maybe a few other, we tend to have like 3 rows of one variety. And then sometimes the form of the tree changes a little bit. So how we want to prune it changes a little bit. So my goal is to prune the first tree of a few of these rows so they can be an example for my crew members who are going to come in, who are those 3 or 4 folks that we've trained, and they can look at this tree and then continue down the row and do the rest of them. So I'm just going to keep pruning, and after a bit we can take a closer look at what we've got left. Kind of want this to be a stronger branch, but it doesn't really want to be. So we might just choose one thing, put all the energy into one branch, cut it back some. One thing that happens is we have something called apical dominance, I think. So even though I cut this one back more, which should be stimulate it more, because that bud is higher than this one, it might still receive more energy. So you don't want to, when you're trying to stimulate a weak branch, it doesn't always work to cut it back all the way. Let's see, maybe I will. That's a really nice outside bud though right there. So I'll cut it there, and then by removing the branches that are close by, there won't be a lot of energy sent into these, and then hopefully we can get kind of a 4th or 5th strong scaffolding branch over here. Here, this is just too much stuff. Leave that to just maybe hang a couple fruits off. Come through here. I think I wouldn't mind having a little fruit in here. Unfortunately, there's no buds hanging there, but I will. I think I'll just get rid of that. And then here, maybe we can. This is maybe, is that far enough away? Maybe get one of these up here to see if I can, it might be too long. Separate those a little bit. I've got a shorter one here. This will go out that way. That's still there. Got a little too much going on here. Might get rid of. That's done. That's done. This branch is coming straight into the middle, so I'll get rid of that. And maybe we don't need this either. Some of these can, as they develop, they'll thicken and they can actually hang some fruit on them. So I don't want to take them all away. But now we're kind of closing in on, there's a question here, do we really, there's a gap here, so I wouldn't mind having something there, but it's sort of encroaching on that one. But I think by not pruning it all, it won't get stimulated. It'll just thicken, and then if one of these branches out, I can later take out the dominant branch and put all the energy into the fruit that will get hung down here. So, but I probably don't need that one in addition. I've already got this space filled a little bit. And then here, again, maybe these are crossing, so I'll just choose to leave one of them. And that's gonna be pretty stimulating. I've tipped the first year wood in all of my main branches that I'm keeping to be the form. One area where I'm a little bit, this might be a little too crowded here, but for now, we can leave it. Make sure that's down close to the branch, so I'm not leaving a bud there. And this is okay. You can see, like, this is kind of like hanging out by itself, and you're like, do you really want that stub? But because I've got this little branch here, I think the energy is going to go in there, and this may end up being a nice spot where some fruit can be. And there's maybe a little too much here, and might as well stimulate these to grow. And it could be that I end up deciding that, oh, this is a really nice branch and I can get rid of some of this stuff. And it's a balance between doing too much and doing too little. I tend to be a little bit conservative, but as for these young trees, you really do want to make some hard decisions where you don't leave everything. And but I'm pretty satisfied with how this is looking now. And you always have the option of coming back in the summertime when you can really see how the foliage has grown and how much it's shading the fruit or the fruit buds. In this case, we're still, maybe this year we'll let them hold more fruit. These are young enough that the last couple years we were trying to remove almost all the fruit. But we can see where the fruit would be developing for where the flowers are and where the set is. even if we do remove the fruit, just to encourage vegetative growth. And if we decide, oh, I got a lot of leaves over here and that's preventing the sun from penetrating in here, then we can make that decision. And the thing about a summer pruning is that it will actually take away vigor, and that way we don't have to. Here, if we cut it back a little bit, it encourages it to grow. So we kind of have to cut it back all the way and get rid of it so that it doesn't grow at all, or we are choosing to put energy into something that we want to grow. Whereas in the summertime, I can come and shorten these and not fear that I'm actually encouraging this to become a big cluster of growth in the middle of my tree, and be more certain that I'll end up with just a few inches of buds here that can later develop fruit.